You're listening to the Peasinner Network. For more great podcasts, go to peasinner.com.au.
Peasinner and Co.
What about you?
What about me?
Why don't you go?
You are expendable.
And you're not?
No, I'm not. I am not expendable. I'm not stupid, and I'm not going.
People of the universe, please attend carefully. The message which follows is of vital importance to you all. We present to you a case study of one of the most dangerous...
Hello and welcome to Not Expendable, Not Stupid, Not Going, the Blake 7 podcast about our favourite Sardonic Scoundrel. I'm Amber Patrick.
And I'm Ciarán Moffatt.
And each week we bring you a chapter from the lives and times of the wanted criminal known throughout all of the Federation as Kerr Avon. This week we'll be looking at Spacefall and Cygnus Alpha, which are episodes 2 and 3 of Series A, broadcast in 1978 and written by Terry Nation. Ciarán, tell us what they're about.
The transport ship London is en route to prison planet Cygnus Alpha with a cargo of convicted criminals. Among them are smuggler Jenna Stannis, falsely accused political dissident Rog Blake, and computer genius Kerr Avon. As they attempt to stage a coup and take control, the bridge picks up the signal of a mysterious ship, unlike anything any of them has seen before.
Oh.
Ooh. This is fun doing it this way around.
Something a bit different.
Yes, something a bit different. I had to watch Blake 7. I'd never actually I'd watched half of episode 1. So finally watching actual what people are telling me are actual Blake 7. It's great. Because I mean, Avon doesn't come into it until episode 2, and
No.
You could tell that they made the pilot and they were just like, "Oh, we need something else. We need something.
Yeah.
We desperately need something else in this."
Yeah, I think they filmed this episode first, the second one.
Really?
Yeah, I believe so.
That's weird. Okay, fair enough.
But yes, this show, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, written by Terry Nation from Doctor Who.
Yes, the creator of the Daleks.
Yes. Basically, he went into a meeting with head of BBC Serials, and they were looking for shows to serialize and produce for also like a co-production for America.
Yes, Terry Nation was always trying to break into America.
Yeah, so he pitched a whole bunch of stuff and they didn't like any of it. And then just as they were about to wrap up the meeting, he was like, I've got this idea about a group of criminals who are really the heroes. And they loved it, and he walked out of there with 13 episodes. No, not 13. He walked out of there with a pilot.
Yeah.
And
wow.
then he showed them that, and then he got 13.
Okay, wow. Yeah, no. It's good. It's really good. There's a lot of oh no, I really shouldn't talk about the first episode because they're talking about episodes 2 and 3, but I watched the first episode and there's a lot of shots of Blake's eye. Just a lot of shots of his eye. It's weird.
Yep.
It's like it's your totalitarian state, right? This is This is like classic sci-fi at this point, because this would be made in the 70s.
78.
78? Yeah, late 70s. Oh, wow. I thought it would be like mid-70s. But no, you're right, yeah. So late 70s. So Doctor Who's been out for a while. But like this is like typical... I'm trying to think of the book now. Like those sci-fis like Logan's Run and stuff like that. A Brave New World. Like we're talking fascist dictatorship. They're putting stuff in the water and the food to make people compliant. They're even pumping it into the air at one point.
Yeah. There's a lot of flared trousers as well in this. Like, that's the look.
Flared trousers and smocks. They seem to think that the future is flared trousers and smocks.
Everyone's built for comfort.
I mean, they do look comfortable, don't they? Like they do look. There's a lot of velour on show, folks. Velour.
So, in December of 77,
right,
Star Wars comes out in the UK. The original.
Right. Okay. Yep.
This is January 9th that episode 2 airs.
So, it's really riding that wave.
That was the plan. The plan was everyone's going to be high on Star Wars. We drop this brand new show. We export it to America as well. Big brand new hit alongside Doctor Who.
We should talk about the fact that one of the main reasons it exists is to save money for the BBC because it can reuse sets and costumes from Doctor Who.
Yes. So a great fact as well, not just Doctor Who, the prison ship London, the central console on the flight deck is Scaramanga's laser from Man with the Golden Gun.
Of course it is. Amazing. I love it.
So they spent
The Starship London, Mr. Scaramanga! The Starship London!
They spent the entire effects budget for this series on episode 2.
Was it the transmitter? Was it that? Or was it the...
Everything. The miniatures, like the London and the Liberator.
Oh, the London goes up on, like, spears of fire. Like, beautifully done. Like, I mean, look, the BBC Pyrotechnics department always goes above and beyond.
And it's the same two guys. It's Matt Irvine and someone else from Doctor Who.
Of course it is. Look, the entire crew on this, because, I mean, the episodes are written by Terry Nation, but it's script edited by... Oh, actually, I should point out, like, Terry Nation wrote the Daleks. He wrote Genesis of the Daleks. He, like, all these... He created the Daleks. He wrote most of the Dalek stories up until about... I think there was a couple he didn't write for the Third Doctor, but up until, like, Fourth Doctor, Destiny of the Daleks, he'd written all of them. And the script editor was Chris Boucher, or Boucher. I can't remember. I don't know how to pronounce it. I think it's Boucher. He wrote probably one of the single greatest Doctor Who stories of all time, The Robots of Death, which again is set in this very sort of, like, you get that feeling, because in Robots of Death, they're getting around in, loose-fitting, comfy, clothes as well. It's it looks very similar.
Important to note that, yes, they basically just brought on everyone who was working on Doctor Who.
Oh, music is Dudley Simpson as well.
And so Terry Nation gets these 13 scripts, and the contract states that because they are building this from nothing, Terry Nation is the only clout they have, and they don't have much money, so he must write every script so that his name is on everything. He quickly realized he could not do this.
Right.
Because 13 full 50, these are 50-minute episodes, unlike Doctor Who being, 25.
Yeah.
So he's got to produce 13 50-minute scripts for this show, and he can't. So he brings on this other guy as the script editor.
I did wonder.
And Terry Nation writes the skeleton stories for these, and then Chris goes in and fills in all the dialogue.
Yep.
And they still come in at under 50 minutes, even when he's done a second pass of them. So then the director is filming things like Blake's eyes to extend the runtime out.
Like the shots where the creepy looking guards, where it's beautifully stylized, I will admit, whoever did the costume design did a beautiful job, because these sort of stormtrooper things look terrifying. But there's that one scene where one of them is just meant to be punching, it's meant to be an eye view of them punching you, but he's just punching to the side of the camera and his arms are just sort of crossing over. It's so silly.
And then on top of that, a lot of the cast just do their own dialogue. So Paul Darrow, who we're going to talk about today, playing Kerr Avon, a lot of his dialogue is his own.
Oh dear. I mean,
because
that says a lot about Paul Darrow, really, doesn't it? Because that's some great dialogue that he puts out. Wow.
Yeah. So that's a bit of history on the show. It's plagued with production issues. This is a show that lasted 4 seasons and shouldn't have. They're out of material by the end of series 1.
I mean, look, and we laugh about Doctor Who production things. There's that great joke in the 5 and a bit Doctors reboot where they the special they put out for the 50th anniversary, where Peter Davison, Colin Baker, and Sylvester McCoy sneak onto the Cardiff set, and he leans on the TARDIS and he says, "Look, what is this? It doesn't wobble at all."
There's a lot of wobbling walls and set pieces in these first few episodes of Blake 7.
I love the doors that open and they make a whooshing noise, even though they're just normal hinged doors. Like someone in post was just like, it's literally someone just pulling down a door handle and opening a door. Like, is there like an air lock going on or something? It's weird. So yeah, where do you want to start with this, boss?
So I guess following the format of our show, we're going to look at one specific character, Kerr Avon.
Yes.
Played by the amazing Paul Darrow, who himself, I believe it's him, describes this show as the original Firefly.
Ooh, yeah, no, I get that. I get that a lot. Yeah. No, I can see how he got that. I will say the original Firefly is actually Alien 4. Because Alien 4 is written by Joss Whedon, and you watch Alien 4, it's got all the characters there. They just don't have the same names. And you're like, oh,
did he rip them off of this, though?
Very possibly. I mean, if he found time in his busy schedule harassing women, like...
So we should get started on... We're looking at episodes 2 and 3.
Yes.
So it's a prison ship which is transporting prisoners, in my opinion, the most ineffective way possible. Like, what if we loaded up about 20 prisoners onto a small ship with as many crew and flew for 8 months to a planet and dumped them there?
Yes. It's basically an outer space bus. It is an outer space Greyhound bus. No one's comfortable.
It's woefully inefficient. If there were thousands of prisoners on a prison ship and you were dumping them, maybe. But like 20 for 8 months of work?
Right. It does seem very inefficient.
Execution may have some appeal after all.
Like, so they're on this ship, and you very much get a feeling, like, because they announce straight up, it's just like, oh, you can go and do this, that, like, you can live in these 3 rooms and you sort out how you live, okay? We don't care what you do over the next 8 months, as long as you don't fuck with us. So basically, yeah, it's Lord of the Flies in there. They're just letting the prisoners do what they want while they go for this 8 months. I will say, this show, I guess because this is the period, right, where they assume, like, they still think Doctor Who's a kids show, right? Even though we're in the late 70s, where they are at this point intentionally trying to piss off Mary Whitehouse. And the keep filth off television brigade. So this actually goes a lot harder than Doctor Who. Because, like, first thing out of the gate, the second in command of the ship, who's in charge of the prisoners, he says, oh, men, you can do whatever you want. And then he goes up to Jenna Stannis and says, we don't have any female accommodation, but if you want to make things easier on yourself for the next 8 months, just let me know. And you're just like, gross.
And then Jenna rightly refuses, and he hits her.
He does. He gives her a good old slap. It is really uncomfortable. And because it looks like Doctor Who, right? It looks like it's Doctor Who. And you're watching it and she's like, oh no, the uncanny valley effect is real.
Yeah. There's a scene later on. It's so stupid. Avon's fighting one of the guards over the computer. And he, like, does this, like, double slap to the side of the head to the guard. And in the original broadcast, they had to cut that 4 seconds because it went over the standards for TV because he did a double slap on the face.
I can't believe you do not know what boxing someone's ears is. If you, not that I'm condoning this, but no, if you slap someone with both hands on both ears at the same time, basically the pressure just goes straight into their inner ear and just completely knocks them for 6. I loved that when I saw it. I'm really annoyed you brought it up because that was going to be a question. How does he disable the computer guard? But well, we're getting there. We're learning the reversed roles here.
But yeah, just love that that was unacceptable. So this show is, pushing the bounds.
It really is, isn't it?
And the themes, I guess, are heavier. Like Blake, who is, the titular character, he wants to basically start a coup, start a rebellion.
It's funny, isn't it? Because, like, I will admit, like the first episode, I know I know you say like you don't really need to watch it because they kind of the whole point of the first episode is that Blake doesn't remember that he's a dissident because they've screwed with his memory, and the events of that episode basically turn him into a dissident again, even if he doesn't remember. But to this sort of fascist government, they decide that they can't kill him because he'll be martyred. So they decide to discredit him, and they very heavily code it that they falsely accuse him of child abuse. So this show is real heavy.
And then they never mention it again. They clearly realized that they shouldn't have done this probably. And it's a pretty bad way to set up your hero.
Yeah.
So it's never mentioned again. From this point on, he's just a rebel.
Do you know what this feels like? This feels like 1990s Virgin New Adventures novels, right? With those writers who like grew up on Doctor Who. It's people who have been writing Doctor Who and they're like, I love Doctor Who, but I wish it just went just that little bit harder, and they overcompensate. And it's a bit too hard. Like, yeah.
By episode 3, this series has recorrected itself, like back down to acceptable levels of sci-fi campiness.
Oh, good.
While still being serious.
Yes. Well, episode 3, I mean, we'll get to episode 3 in a minute, but episode 3 has Brian Blessed!
Blake, Kerr Avon. When it comes to computers, he's the number 2 man in all the Federated Worlds.
Who's number 1?
The guy who caught him.
Anyway, so Blake gets introduced to Kerr Avon.
Yes.
Because all the little prisoners in this ship have all got their thing. Like, one's the best pilot and one's the best thief. And
I mean, look, there are basically 4 people there are 4 people on this ship plus extras. So obviously,
can you tell me who you think the 4 are? Because it's going to be amazing.
Okay, so obviously, like Blake, main character, right?
Yep.
Stannis and Avon are second tier, right? The tier below that are the thief guy, whose name I can't remember,
Villa,
and the big guy, who is the little guy's bodyguard, and that's
Gan.
and then everyone else is just down. That's how everyone else is just there as warm props. That is what they are. They're warm props.
I do love it because Villa, who is the thief, the little guy, played by Michael Keating.
Yeah.
His name is. He's the only one in every episode of the show.
Of course he is. Even if he doesn't really play much of a part in episode 3. I was annoyed because I want to see more of him because I like him. He's slimy. He's a fun character. I want to see more of him. But yeah, in episode 3, he's just sort of in the background. Yeah.
Yeah, him and Avon are best friends, essentially, by the end.
Aw, that's nice.
Yeah, like they're the only 2 characters that really have.
I mean, that kind of does scream. That kind of does scream supervillain and henchman, though. That's kind of screams supervillain and henchman.
Yeah, Avon needs a lackey, but Villa needs like someone to protect him.
Yes. It's if in another universe, it could be the master and the monk. Like,
yeah.
Just saying, like that.
So we've all got a skill, so we can escape. We've all got a part to play.
It's almost as if someone's playing a sci-fi role-playing game, right?
Yeah, it almost is. But they need Avon to disable the ship's computer.
Sorry, is there a Blake 7 RPG?
I don't know.
It has to be, right? Oh, we should play that. That'd be fun.
They figure out that you can get to the ship's computer through a crawl space in the walls.
Yeah, like, so the hull is like which makes sense, like having a double hull. So they're crawling through the like the wiring channels basically, and Blake does it like multiple times or something to get to each thing and just keeps coming back all the time. Villa is showing a gormless guard some like close up magic. Villa,
if you're a prison
Dynamo.
guard and a prisoner wants to do prestidigitation in front of you, don't let them.
But then they have to just convince Avon to do it, which Avon has very quickly decided that he doesn't want to have anything to deal with anyone. And they're also going, we've got to get him to help us. Otherwise, he'll end up helping the guards, because they reckon that it actually they could get Avon to fudge the numbers on the itinerary.
Flight log.
Yeah, the flight log, and then just push them all out into space so that they don't have to spend the entire 8 months going all the way to the planet and back.
Yeah, they could just pretend they did, and but then Blake points out to Avon, like, you could do that with them, but then they'll just kill you so you don't blackmail them.
Yeah, exactly.
So you actually have to help us because we'll give you the better deal.
Yes.
Don't try and manipulate me, Blake.
Why should I try and do that?
You need my help.
Only if you can open the doors.
I could open every door, blind all the scanners, knock out the security overrides, and control the computer. Control the computer, and you control the ship.
So they try that. So Avon goes through the wall to the computer bay, which has now got someone in it just fiddling around on it, and Avon's just like just waiting at the door, like, looking. Is he gone yet? No. Is he gone yet? And it's taking too long. And so they want to, they're standing outside, tapping their feet, looking at their watch. It's like, I want to start a coup.
Avon, hurry up and disable the cameras so we can start a coup.
And they send through unnamed young keen person to go and find him. And this has already been seen. They've been going through a meteor storm or something. So things are hitting the hull.
That's a space battle.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They're on the edge. They think it's a meteor storm, but they're the edge of a space battle, basically.
Yeah.
And so the hull is getting pierced. And I actually really liked this plot point because it's something that actually exists today now. So when the hull gets pierced, the cavity that they're in, unfortunately, it's a terrible way to die. A young keen man dies by this foam getting pumped into the compartment, which seals the hole. We have this, there's this fluid that you can put in tires now, that when you get a puncture, when the nail pulls out, when the air hits this liquid, it seals up the hole. So this is something that now exists. It's very, very cool.
Yeah, and as you say, one of this kid just dies with shaving foam, all around him.
Yeah, and it's bubbles. It's it is bubble bath, right? That they're pumping in these. It was either going to be that or the BBC's favorite things were either bubbles or rehydrated mashed potatoes. That's what they used to use.
Wow.
They used to use that for snow, flaked potatoes as snow. Yeah, no, awful.
Starchy.
Yeah, oh yeah, wonderful. So Avon does probably in the whole two-parter the most athletic thing he does for the whole thing, where he kicks open a door and lands on this guy in the computer bay and just beats the crap out of him, boxes his ears, as we said. The guy's on the ground, completely discombobulated, and yeah, Avon now has control of the computer, which he probes.
Yeah, he's got a little
probe
tool.
Multi-tool probe.
Not unlike a sonic screwdriver, just a bit longer, pointy, and he's just pointing
he
to things on the desk.
He extends it. It's obviously just a car antenna or something. It's just ooh.
Yes, it very clearly is.
The security camera goes down. The very obviously Orwellian security camera. It looks.
Yep.
Yeah. So they overpower the guard and get through. There's that wonderful line where it's just I'm not helping you. Look, we just need your hand. It doesn't necessarily need to be attached.
Yeah. They got to give Gan something to do. So Gan's big and threatening and menacing and gets the guard to put his hand on the door.
Yeah. All the doors are handprint operated, which Avon had pointed out. The way it works is that it stores a handprint in the computer and then someone's hand needs to be recognized.
Do you know how those door panels work?
No, not that type.
It's simple enough. All authorized personnel have their palm prints filed in the computer. The blue sensor plate reads the print. If it conforms, the computer opens the door.
Neat.
Most computer-based functions are.
Yeah, Avon has to explain that because he's the one that's good with computers.
He is very good with computers. Everyone else just happens to be not very, like, know anything about computers, which is how they get through. Like, computers are obviously a huge part of their lives, right? In the future. I mean, even though it's 70s computers, you know, like
Yeah.
all the keyboards look like, well, you know what? They look like what they are. They are obviously like BBC light and sound controlling keyboards that they've just moved in there, like their production keyboards.
And nothing has a screen anywhere.
No,
It's
all
just
chroma
the
key.
keyboards.
Yeah, it's a chroma key up on the wall for
Yeah.
images and stuff. So yeah, they go, and unfortunately, what's that wonderful line that was it Avon said? Yeah, your friends went wandering around looking for someone to arrest them.
Yeah. Because, yeah, Gan and Villa lead a group of the prisoners.
They
but
go
very
looking for
quickly.
they go looking for the armory, but they very, very quickly get captured.
Yes, and then the awful, like, the guy was threatening Jenna earlier, is basically just lines them all up and's like, tell Blake I'm just going to kill one of these guys every 30 seconds until he surrenders.
Yeah, and when he's told that Blake has surrendered, he looks really disappointed that he didn't get to kill more people.
And he still just shoots one more.
Yeah. And of course the captain, who we've got the tropes here, right? We've got the captain who is the grizzled old man who's done with it all, and he does everything by the book still. So he's going to report them. Then we've got the second officer who's a nasty piece of work. And then we've got the young flight officer who wants to be a captain. And also, poor man, he must not be able to fold sheets because he's got no chin.
Yeah, he's up for promotion as well, and he's like trying to do his best. And
Yeah,
it's all
it's
just
like, I'm not going to
going
get
right.
promoted because of this.
I mean, I'd probably. You imagine if you had to be locked on a prison ship with your colleagues for 8 months.
Yeah.
So despite Avon's best attempts to actually do his job and get everyone through, Blake immediately surrenders so that no one will get shot by this second in command.
Also, this show is terrible at showing the passage of time because at one point they make a crack about the fact that they've already been on there for 4 months.
Yeah, and you're like, when did that happen?
Yeah, and then by the end of the episode, they're at the place. They're at Cygnus Alpha. And so you think, oh, it has been 8 months. So like over the period of time, so 4 months, coup, and then another 4 months, planet. It's, come on, guys.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell what's going on. But before they get to the planet, they find this spaceship drifting nearby the London. And the guards, still, wanting to make a quick buck, are like, well, if this is a really good ship, we could sell it.
Yeah, exactly.
And make extra money.
Ooh, no one's ever seen anything like this before. It's beautiful. Why don't we try and sell it? We could get millions. And so they send over a group of 2 people who, the usual, everything's fine. Cut off. Oh, quick, we must
Star
send
Trek red shirts, essentially.
Yeah, we must send someone else in there to find out what happened and why the mic cut out. The next person goes through there. Everything seems all right.
Yeah, then the third one comes like running back in, screaming.
He's foaming at the mouth.
Yeah.
Like, what is that about? It's foaming at the mouth.
The head of the ship, like the captain, is like, okay, let's just leave it. And then the second in command's like, well, we could send prisoners still.
Yes,
Because
exactly.
I still want this ship.
Yes, exactly. And so they decide to send the 3 named characters. They send Blake, Stannis, and Avon over there. Can we?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd send the most organized 3
right?
together.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose like they're the ones who are clearly going to, like, if any of the prisoners are going to get the job done, it's them, right? And Blake's like, can we have some weapons? Sure, we'll throw some into the airlock after you've walked through.
What do you suppose did that to him?
That's what we're supposed to find out.
I liked the connector to the ship. I mean, I know it's just basically, it's just a tube, right? But it's like, for that period of time, it's actually really well done. And like, I don't know how they filmed it from, like, what the logistics were like for the actual bit they're walking through, but it does look like it's sort of suspended a bit.
Yeah.
I don't know how they did it, but it's really well done. They get to the ship, and then the ship starts screwing with their minds and showing them things.
Some weird in-camera effects for this section.
Yeah, right. I mean, again, this show goes hard, like showing apparently Stannis's mother, who looks like. You need to watch this because I don't want to describe what it looks like is happening to her. But of course, something starts happening to Blake, and then Blake, being the main character and the everyman, goes, "No, it's not real," and he pushes them out of the way and stops Avon and Stannis being affected, and he shoots down this thing, and they work out it's a self-defense mechanism, right?
Yes, the security system for the ship.
Yeah, it's driving people insane, this security system.
Because this security system and the ship, they figure out quickly, is very organic compared to other like human spaceships, which would just have like a turret or a robot. This is all organic.
Yeah. And it seems to have an intelligence to it. Yeah. Which it seems to like Stannis, because Stannis sort of bonds with it. Also, precursor to Farscape. We're just going to run that one in there. Yeah, Stannis bonds with it, and she ends up naming it the Liberator.
Yeah, because in her mind, because we're breaching into episode 3 now. They decide that this ship is going to be what they're going to go use to rescue all the other prisoners who are still on the London.
Yep.
And Jenna thinks, well, we'll be liberators, so that's what the ship calls itself because that's what she thinks.
Yes,
It's a really fun idea.
And the ship has a name. It calls itself Zen. Or the ship's computer calls itself Zen.
Yeah.
And refuses to answer any questions. Just ignores all questions posed to it.
I have a note here that says, not enough spaceships have sunken lounges in them.
Right? I mean, I think we as a society moved away from conversation pits too quickly.
Yeah, I love that. So the bridge of this ship has clearly got, like, I think is it 6 seats?
It's weirdly tiered, and
Yeah.
it's big, it's open, it's very pretty. Unlike the bridge of the London, which just has some snacks arranged across the front of it. Did you notice that? Just like some.
I
cups
did notice
and
the snacks. I also noticed in the London the cups with just open tops, just regular cups.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, if you're in a spaceship, a closed lid drinking vessel
But
is
then
probably
they wouldn't
best.
stack. Like they were they're only stacked next to that jug purely for the visual effect of, which is like it's meant to that like they fall over once during a during an attack. And but then every other time, all they do is the camera just moves to the side, so they stay perfectly stationary while this camera goes past it, and you're like, "Well done, guys."
You may not be tranquilized any longer, but you're still dreaming.
Maybe some dreams are worth having.
You don't really believe that.
No, but I'd like to.
So yeah, they're on the deck of this new ship, the Liberator, talking to Zen. I do love that they ask Zen questions and it sort of gives philosophical replies. It's
Yes.
like wisdom must be gained, not told. And Avon's like, don't philosophize with me, you computer.
Yeah, don't philosophize at me, you electronic moron. Such a good line.
Because Avon is obviously like, well, we're free. Let's go. Let's get out of here. We've got a ship. We're in the wind.
Well, his whole thing, right? He's self-centered. That's he is completely self-centered. Paul Darrow would have played the Master beautifully, I think.
Yeah.
Paul Darrow, should be pointed out, was in Doctor Who twice. He was in the Silurians as a unit soldier, and he was in Time Lash, which is a terrible story. Poor guy.
Yeah, he plays Tekka, I
yeah.
think is his character name in that. He hits on Perry immediately.
Yes. Wouldn't you? I mean, Nicola Bryant, absolutely lovely.
I demand to see the Borat immediately.
Admit defeat, Doctor.
Never.
The stories I've heard about you. The great Doctor, all-knowing and all-powerful. You're about as powerful as a burnt-out android.
We don't get to see much of it in these stories, but throughout the history of Blake 7 and all the episodes, Avon hits on everyone.
Oh, really? Oh.
Oh yeah. He's got quite a few love interests throughout the series.
One note I did make about the ship is that in the hatch, right? They're just like, oh, there's this bright white light we can't see, and then they step into the ship's flight deck, and it's really gloomy. I'm like, where did the light come from, guys? Where did it come from?
Yeah, I did notice that as well.
So here we end episode 2 with them piloting the Liberator out of here, and what's it? Raker is the name of the truly awful second in command who was, throughout this whole story. He's trying to get over to the ship, and he's stuck in this sort of umbilicus, and then the ship pulls away, and he gets sucked out into space, and you cheer. Woohoo!
It's an awesome effect because you see the actor get sucked out, and you can see the wires as he's pulled away. It's awesome, and then it cuts out to the shot of the miniature ship, and you can see a tiny miniature of a person spinning off into space. It's awesome.
Yeah, what I love about this is there's a lot of shots of the Liberator on flat matte painted backgrounds of space.
Yeah,
which is hilarious. Okay, so episode 3.
It's kind of a two-parter.
Yeah, it is kind of a two-parter. So yeah, this is where the ship. So they've spent 4 months on the Liberator, right? Waiting for this.
It's so bizarre to figure out what the passage of time is, how long they're on the London and how long they're on the Liberator. They mustn't be on the Liberator, I don't think at all, because very long, because they find out that the ship is just voice controlled. You don't have to pilot it. You can just be like, go here at this speed, and it does.
But they get there roughly at the same time that the London gets to Cygnus Alpha, which is still 4 months away.
They get there almost instantly, and they're like, oh, this ship's really fast.
Yes. Anyway, let's not try and worry about that. So the criminals are on Cygnus Alpha, and they find it's being run by a religious sect.
Yes,
and at the
Cygnus Alpha is a quarry at night.
It is a quarry. I love it. It's a quarry at night. So yes, it is typical Doctor Who fare there. And the religious sect is run by Brian Blessed and Pamela Salem, both from Doctor Who. Brian Blessed was in the Trial of a Time Lord, the Mind Warp, and Pamela Salem was in Remembrance of the Daleks. So at the same time this happens, they find a room with these teleporter bands, which for some wonderful exposition, it turns out that both Avon and Blake know exactly what they are.
Yeah, because it's all alien technology, but they have to at least have some comprehension of what they're looking at.
But Avon saying, oh yes, I worked on this project, so I know what it is. And Blake's just like, oh yeah, I worked on that project too. Oh, it's a small universe. It was a big project. And you're like, come on.
They didn't need Blake to have worked on it as well.
No, they didn't. Can Blake just not have the upper hand? Is he not allowed to not have the upper hand at any point? So they work out that there's this teleporting, which is totally theoretical. And in the project they worked on, it never worked. But it might work. So they teleport him down to the planet because, of course, the ship can't land on the planet, and also it saves the production department money of shots of the ship landing.
What now?
We've got to go down there and rescue the others.
You're not going to try and land this thing.
What's the alternative?
Leave. I'm free, and I intend to stay that way.
And I need a crew.
I really like the teleport effect. I love it. The sort of outline that forms of them when they land. Oh, it's beautifully done.
Yeah, it looks really great. And I do like the little props of the wristband, because I think I imagine sci-fi conventions in the 80s, so many people would have had these little bands on.
Oh, yeah.
And they also find little guns, which are iconic.
Yeah, they are. They look like little wands, right? And it was very well thought out because you've got to wear a belt with a power pack on it. And I love that the gun plugs into it with a jack, an old school 1 1/4 inch jack.
Handgun?
It's a bit elaborate for a toothpick.
Depends how elaborate their teeth were.
So apparently, Paul Darrow broke these all the time because he was just like, he overacted like so all the time, like action shots, and he rolling around with these guns, and he always broke the one he was given as his prop.
They look like they're made of very, very brittle what you call it, acrylic, right? They're clear acrylic, plexiglass.
And so apparently the props department eventually built him a really sturdy, proper, heavy-duty version of one of these. And they were like, yeah, break that. And it got stolen off set because it was so high quality.
Of course it did. Did it get stolen by Paul Darrow?
I don't think anyone knows who actually took it.
But no, you're right. I love the gun. I love everything, like the visual cues for this. Like, and I can see what makes this something that sticks in people's minds, because the visual cues are what make the show, right?
Yeah, like the Liberator miniature of the ship looks really unique. The guns, the wristbands. We don't see it this time, but Avon's wardrobe becomes iconic.
Right.
Eventually.
Oh, this is the leather, right? This is the leather you mentioned?
Yeah, he's got a... No, that was a different character. That was Travis.
Right, sorry.
That's okay. No, but Avon gets a whole bunch of outfits that are just like black, like with studs and very accented like shoulder pads and things like that.
Well, it was the 70s.
So for the rest of this episode, unfortunately, like Avon and Jenna get some awesome character scenes, but they stay on the Liberator.
This episode, it has to be said, is spread very thin. It is not really about the crew of the Liberator or it is setting the scene for this, like for the show moving forward about like what this show can be, right? So the whole point of this is it is a prison planet where they send people to rot. Like no one ever comes back from there. But again, it's like we said, that sort of Lord of the Flies thing where the prisoners basically just go and tear each other apart. And out of this has grown this religious sect that is used to control people. And it's being run by Brian Blessed. It's very sort of, like you and I both noted this, that it feels very Australian, right? Like he, even though it's very English, it seems very Australian sort of colloquially in that, you know,
just take this group of people and just dump them over on that planet.
Yeah, just leave them there.
And they've built their own society from it.
Yeah, and Brian Blessed sounds like these like elderly Aussie battlers that you like. I hate the term Aussie battler, I really do. But these sort of old people just like, my family was sent here, you know, 17 generations ago. They had nothing. We built it. We earned our indigenousness and like, you know, that sort of crap.
My ancestors came here on that first shipment. They had nothing. The Federation gave them no tools, no supplies. So they worked together. They worked hard and made a community.
The fact that, you know, Brian Blessed fesses up very quickly that he's controlling these people with this idea that they have this illness and they have to keep taking this medication, which it's not.
It's a placebo.
It's placebos, and they were Crown Mints. They were absolutely Crown Mints that he dumped on the plate. So yeah, he's controlling these people, and now he, like, once he captures Blake down on the planet, he now wants to use their ship to spread the word of, like, this is where he goes into religious loony territory. Spread the word of the Lord out into the universe. Because it's Brian Blessed, right? It is a brilliant performance, and it is a very sort of Shakespearean performance, because he's a fantastic theatre actor. He is at turns so proud of the world that he rules over, and at the same time also really, really annoyed that the world that he rules over is at most 500 people. Yeah. And he wants more. Like, he has achieved so much, but he has not achieved enough.
I just can't get over this whole system. So what are we doing with these 20 prisoners? Well, we're flying them for 8 months to a prison planet. Oh, what do they do once they're there? Manual labor? No, there's a cult that's sort of sprung up. We don't ask too many questions. It's sort of just, they just do their own thing. They look after them.
Right. I think the whole idea of it, right, is that they want to send them to a planet that is so far out that no one else is going to go looking, right? And they're not going to be able to get off because they're not even anywhere near the border worlds.
And it was my great-great-grandfather who found a way to unite them. He gave them a religion, brought them together in the love and fear of God. That is the line I stem from. That is what gives me the right to rule!
So Blake basically wants to rescue these prisoners and bring them back to the Liberator to help him crew the ship. So then they have, the start of a militia, I suppose. The start of an uprising. And so he puts on one of these bracelets and's like, all right, I'm going to go down. You bring me back
go
up.
down, is he?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
I mean, him and Avon do have some tension in this episode, not going to lie. That's what happens when two classically rather trained actors go up against one another.
So yeah, he's down on the planet with the teleport ring and the zappy gun.
And obviously gets found out really quickly.
Yeah.
But then it's been 4 minutes of time. So just as he's about to get attacked and, beaten up, Jenna and Avon beam him back up to the ship.
Yes. I do like the beam down, beam back up bit, which sort of proves that it works. And also, they also say, oh, what would happen if you were to put it outside of its, outside of its range? He's like, you'd probably appear in mid-space for a second and then have your atoms scattered in the... throughout the universe. It's like, thanks, we know that's happening later.
I also do love there's a point where Jenna's like, okay, beam him back up, Avon, and Avon just kind of looks at the button and it's like,
I really like that Avon is looking at this control panel that he's trying to work out and he's putting stickers on stuff.
Yeah, he's marking what buttons do what.
Yeah, which is a very, very nice touch. I really like that. But yeah, I mean, to breeze through the rest of this episode, which is fairly easy to do.
I also like, at one point, Jenna comes back into the room from being somewhere else, and he's just completely taken the control panel apart.
Yeah.
Because he's trying to figure out how it all works. And she's like, what have you done? He's like, I'm just looking.
Yeah, it's just like, if he calls back, hit that button there. Just that button there. And as you said, they have some character stuff where they find a room that is full of treasure, right? It's full of treasure.
Full of costume jewelry.
Full of costume jewelry, which is hilarious that they put so much sparkly on that because Blake 7 is filmed in that period and with those cameras that has that thing that I absolutely love. And I don't know if anyone else notices this, right? But in that period where you pan over lights, there's like a little burn on the screen from where the light was. So when he picked up that costume jewelry, like the halo around it from it reflecting off, I love. I don't know what it is. I think it's because it reminds me of Doctor Who. I love it. But yeah, so they argue over keeping this jewelry.
Yeah, it's a good character moment because now they find out that they have so much treasure they could do whatever they wanted, basically.
Yeah.
Like, they don't need to run any more scams. They don't need to be criminals. They are set for life. And Avon basically looks at Jenna and is like, so we could just go now. We're the richest people in the universe, you and I. What are we doing here?
Yeah. Well, his whole point is he knows that if Blake comes back, Blake will use it to fund the terrorism, right? Well,
yeah.
One man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. Fund the uprising.
He's a crusader. He'll look upon all this as just one more weapon to use against the Federation. And he can't win. You know he can't win. What do you want to be? Rich or dead?
So he's like, it's now or never. We must decide. And Jenna, I do like that she isn't fully against it, but she's like, he told us to wait 4 hours for him, so we'll wait 4 hours. And if he isn't back, then we'll take the money and run.
So he's on the planet.
And both of them sort of play around with the idea of, well, what if I killed the other?
Yes. And so Blake's on the planet and he's got a bunch of bracelets with him. He tries to convince he sneaks in, tries to convince the people to come with him. And they say, some of them say, oh no, we're sick, we can't leave. We've got this thing, you'll have it too soon. And then others are just like, no, we want to stay. Especially, was it Garm is his name?
Villa is the one. And Gan is the one who will join.
Well, I thought at first he didn't particularly want to join because, he got a snog off Pamela Salem.
Oh, that was Villa.
That was Villa. No, he's got was it Villa? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because Villa gets kissed by her and's like, I like God's followers.
Yeah. Well, and also they've been treated to the what happens if you're an unbeliever, which is you get staked out in a quarry in the middle of the night.
He also does that limerick.
Oh, yes. So I have that for you, right? So he starts a limerick, okay? He starts a limerick that is, there was a young lady from Cygnus, and he never finishes it. And me being me, and I love limericks, I decided to finish it for you, all right? There was a young lady from Cygnus who was attracted to physical fitness. Young men boasted their strength and bragged of their length, but she had more interest in thickness.
Oh dear.
A limerick has to be filthy, it's the law.
Yeah. I feel bad for both Villa and Gan in these episodes because they get muddied in with like the extras.
Yes.
Whereas they're actually like 2 of the 7. And we don't really get that initial sense because they could just die because they're just not that, central.
Yep. Well, in the end, they're the only 2 that survive. None of the other people make it off the planet.
A fight erupts between the cultists and the prisoners. And I do love that while this fight's happening and Gan's fighting and punching, you just see Villa like crawl into shot on his hands and knees and grab one of the bracelets off the table and then crawl
bugger off
away.
again. Yep. And yeah, the spear's thrown. Pamela Salem dies. I'm just annoyed she was misused. Okay.
I love the way Blake's stunt double clearly jumps.
Oh, the dive over the
spears.
spears. I loved that. Like, what was great was they cut to that scene and they obviously hadn't edited it properly because there's about a second of just nothing and then just jumps over. He jumps through this doorway over these 2 crossed spears. Beautifully done. So yeah, everyone gets beamed up, but Brian Blessed gets beamed up too, and he's got the gun. And so they're all standing there and he's doing his histrionic thing of, I shall rule. And
yeah, meanwhile, Jenna's said to Avon, like, get out of here, go tell the ship to leave.
Yeah. So he's doing that. And then, is it Jenna presses the button to send him out?
No, Blake.
Blake sets the button. And so he gets teleported outside the field. And then he materializes in the middle of space and then explodes.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
What a way to go for Brian Blessed and this series.
Oh my God, it's so wonderfully done. Like, if you watch anything of this show, watch that one scene. It's so amazing.
I was their priest. I shall return to them and
So then now, with him gone, I mean, not only is he gone, but in the first, hour of owning this new Liberator ship, they've lost 1 gun and 4 of the bracelets that Brian Blessed smashed.
Yes. And also, I mean, we didn't even mention the fact that the guns, they use a very Doctor Who word, isomorphic.
Yes.
So you can only have 1 gun at a time, which is an interesting bit of plot point.
Which is interesting until
he literally
Avon
hands
his gun to Jenna.
Right.
And she takes it.
Who wrote that scene? Oh, God. Yeah, no.
Single function isomorphic response.
What?
I think he means it'll only let us have 1 gun each.
And so basically now we have 6 of the 7.
There is actually a 7, right? I thought the 7 was just an arbitrary number. I didn't realize.
No, there's 7 of them.
Oh, okay. So they pick someone else up, did they?
Yes, next episode we get another woman.
Ooh, variety.
Yeah, she's a telepath called Callie.
Fair enough. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm gonna watch more. Blake 7.
Yeah. Like I said, they spent the entire production budget on this episode, so the rest of it is just them scrounging.
Right. Okay.
And then, but I also, same as Doctor Who, it's got a very similar history. It's got Big Finish. So
yes, Big Finish have been doing, so they do Blake 7 audio dramas as well as audio books. I believe they also published actual Blake 7 novels through Big Finish as well.
They did. And even Paul Darrow did his audio book of his autobiography through them.
Nice. Yeah, no, that tends to happen.
So yeah, it's interesting because obviously the show is about Blake.
Right.
But
until
after
Blake leaves.
a certain amount of time, Avon takes over as the head character
Oh, wonderful.
and Paul Darrow is one of those actors where this role pretty much defined the rest of his career.
Yeah.
He loves Avon. He even wrote novels about like prequel and sequel, and he bought the rights to Blake 7 to try and make future projects to
Oh, wow.
extend the life of this show. Like, this man loved this character, loved this role.
I was just going to say, that's really impressive because Terry Nation, the estate never lets go of anything. Like, it's incredible.
Yeah, I think because Paul Darrow was just this character.
Yeah.
And it was safe. Like, I guess Terry Nation never ever doubted Paul Darrow would look after the creation. Unfortunately, all of Paul Darrow's projects never really took. Like, he wrote the books, but then he did try to go for a reboot. Not even a reboot, like a remake kind of thing where it would be set many years later and Avon would sort of help foster this new group of 7.
Yeah.
To take over, but it didn't quite work out. There wasn't enough of support for him. But luckily, Big Finish then took the license on. The estate of Terry Nation did sell it to Big Finish. So instantly, Paul Darrow, Michael Keaton, all of Gareth Thomas, all of the actors were brought on to do their characters again. Like, the whole cast is back.
I love audio, and I think audio as a format is absolutely brilliant for continuing these things. Because, you know, it's easy on the actors and you can still hear exactly what they sound like. And Blake 7, they are still making more. And they're doing spin-offs of other characters from Blake 7.
Yep. Yeah, it is right. So this is a bit of a sad story with the end of Paul Darrow's, towards the end of his life. He suffered, I think it was an aneurysm or something.
Dear.
But he basically had to go into emergency surgery and they couldn't get blood flowing back through his body. And it unfortunately resulted in him coming out of surgery without his legs.
Oh, no.
And this was just like a thing that just happened. Like, it wasn't like a long-term thing. This was now just his new reality.
Yeah.
He got a flat that was, accessible
floor.
for him.
Yep.
Kept recording for Big Finish and was like, okay, this is what I do now. Because I can still use my voice and I can still talk. And for the rest of his life, which wasn't too many more years, but he still kept doing it. He still kept recording. Because he could. We've
said this before, that Big Finish as a company, they care about the properties and they care about the actors. You know, like David Warner told Nicholas Briggs that he loved it so much he wanted to do it every day for the rest of his life. They helped build a studio so that Tom Baker could record remotely, so that they could keep working with Tom Baker because he couldn't keep coming up to London to record all the time. So they care. And I mean, obviously they get good stuff out of it. It's a no-brainer, right? Like, if you invest the money to make sure that you have stuff with Tom Baker, people are going to listen to it, which I listened to a Fourth Doctor audio yesterday and he's just so happy and joyful these days. Like, you can hear it in what he's doing. And yeah, it does not surprise me at all that Paul Darrow was like, I want to do, like, having an audio company like this, it allows people to play the roles that they love playing in a way that is easy and accessible and in a format that is enjoyable for the listener. I mean, we could argue about whether the price structure is accessible for the average person, but it's quality stuff.
Yeah, I haven't listened to any of the Blake 7 audios. Like, and I don't know why I haven't. I think it's one of those things I've just never gotten to it. Like, because I'm already trying to listen to the Doctor Who ones.
Yeah.
And as you say, to then start trying to financially also then collect the the Blake 7 ones. But I just feel so relieved because it was clear that Paul Darrow wanted to play Avon just his whole life. It's just, he loved that character. He wanted to be that character. And I am really glad that eventually Big Finish, when they picked up the license, gave him that in his life. He did get to be Avon again.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited to hear you watch more.
Yes, I will. I'll be definitely watching more. It's one of those things that I mean, thanks to streaming, it's now available to me. Because for a very long time, like, I knew of Blake 7. Of course I did, because like Blake, when you talk about Doctor Who, you hear about Blake 7 because the actors that cross over and the sets that cross over and the costumes that cross over. It just
I also read that Tom Baker apparently really wanted to have a Doctor Who episode where him and Gareth Thomas, who plays Blake, just passed each other in a corridor and just kind of did like a hi, like no reference to it being Blake, just
Yes, that'd be
just a
great.
passing cameo. Like he really wanted that, but the BBC were, and like not the BBC, like Doctor Who, they were determined that these two shows were not going to be linked in the same universe in any way.
Yeah, probably because they were a bit like, let's face it, Blake 7 goes just that little bit harder.
Yeah.
And also Doctor Who is such an important show that, like, at the time, linking it with other shows kind of...
Yeah.
Because I suppose what you don't want, right, is kind of what, like, Russell T Davies got in 2006. It's like, Torchwood is the adult Doctor Who. Like, you don't want anyone saying that something is the adult Doctor Who. Because Doctor Who is a family show. It is for adults and it is for kids. But yeah, I wouldn't put a kid in front of Blake 7. But yeah, no, I'm so glad I've got to watch Blake 7.
With our speed, we'll probably outrun them. This time. But they'll keep coming. Pushing us, tracking us. They'll never give up.
Nor will we. When we can handle this ship properly, we'll stop running. Then we'll fight.
Amber, are you ready to play Are You an Electronic Moron?
Well, I hope not.
Okay, right.
I can't wait if I manage to get these when you've never gotten all of them before.
I will be very put out. Okay. Kerr Avon is the number what computer man in all the Federated Worlds?
Computer expert?
No. He's the number what, like in the list of computer.
2.
Number 2, okay. And who is number 1?
The man who caught him.
There we go. According to Avon, what is the only way to obtain wealth?
To steal it from another man. Or take it from another man.
Yeah, take it from someone else, yep.
He has to take it from another man.
Yeah, he does have to take it from another man.
Callie,
Yes, Avon?
I'm ready to come up now.
Who did Avon see when his mind was being affected by the self-defense mechanism?
His brother.
Right. Avon wanted to escape and take on a new identity. What was the new identity?
Oh, he wanted to go back and work for the bank again.
Yes.
And he would, yeah.
Yes. I mean, look, you've got everything I've come up with, everything in my notes, which is, yeah.
Yay!
Well done. Yeah, because I was going to say, like, how does Avon, like, knock out the guard in the computer bay? He boxes his ears.
Yep.
And also, like, what did Avon say to Zen, the computer? Don't you philosophize at me, you electronic moron.
To be fair, I was trying to take notes for this because, like, you know, for the thing. And I was like, oh, he's not in heat. Like, not a lot is going on.
No.
I think if it was a later episode, there would be a lot more to talk about.
Well done. You are, in fact, not an electronic moron. Yeah,
I have a question for you.
Oh God, I thought. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, cool.
It's a different question. So I knew that you would know what episodes that Paul Darrow had been in.
Yeah.
Do you know what episode of a Doctor Who property Blake was in?
Of a Doctor Who property. That's an interesting phrase.
So that actor appears in another part of Doctor Who. Do you remember or do you know?
Okay, so if it's a Doctor Who property, it's not Doctor Who.
It's okay, we don't. I just wondered.
I recognise him, but I can't remember. No.
He is in an episode of Torchwood.
Is he? Which one?
He was in Ghost Machine as Ed Morgan.
Oh, yeah, that's a great episode.
He's an old man, to be fair. You wouldn't recognise him.
Yeah, fair enough.
And do you know what Doctor appeared in Blake's 7?
Yeah, I do know this. Colin Baker appears as a character called Bayban the Butcher.
Yeah, he's like the head of a motorcycle gang. A space motorcycle gang.
A space motorcycle gang.
I think that's what it is.
I know that because of a Big Finish advertising and audio with him. So, yeah. Well, I think that ends the experiment of the Blake 7. I don't know. Are we going to start an actual spin-off where we do Blake 7?
If enough people want it. I assume they've all turned off by now.
Oh, it's a shame. It was fun. It was fun, and I enjoyed watching it. And it was interesting trying to take notes and make get the questions for you.
Yeah.
Because of course, you have to pay a certain amount of attention, but also you can kind of just like switch off when he's not on the screen. Like, is that what you do when you write the questions for me? Like when the master's not in it, you're just like, okay, I don't need to write a thing about this. But
yeah, unless suddenly like a character starts talking about them or
yeah.
But yeah, most of the time it's just when they're doing stuff on the screen.
Yeah.
See, it's hard because I was like, oh, I better write notes. Like, what color sticker does he put down on the control panel? Like,
I wish I'd noted that down. I think it was actually blue.
Yellow.
Yellow? Oh, okay. Well, good thing this isn't reversed, I suppose. That's all for this week's special April Fool's episode of Please Attend Carefully, not Avon Calling. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to follow or subscribe to be updated on new episodes. Amber, how can listeners get in contact with us?
They can follow us on Instagram at Please Attend Carefully, or on Tumblr at Please Attend Carefully, or send us an email at pleaseattendcarefully@gmail.com.
That's right, and we now have a Patreon featuring exclusive subscriber content with tiers starting at just $2. I've been Ciarán.
And I've been Amber. We'll leave you with the trailer for Series 2.
We hope you'll be tuning in. After all, it can't hurt you to listen, can it? People of the universe, please attend carefully. The message which follows is of vital importance to you all.
Intercepting unknown transmission. Transmission identified.
A history of the lives and times of the renegade Time Lord known as the Master.
Renegade Time Lord is known to the Cybermen.
The choice is simple. Join us and continue listening, or face total annihilation.
We do not join with lesser creatures. They become like us. Yes, leader.
They are the Master, and you will obey them.
Time Lords and Cybermen are inferior to the Daleks. The Daleks are the supreme race in the universe. Daleks are the masters of all! Daleks are the masters of all! Daleks are the masters of all! Daleks are the masters of all!
What is the most powerful force in the universe? Who is the Doctor's greatest enemy? Who is the real master of all? Well, there's only one way to find out. Please attend carefully.